Okay, this is AGO, and I'll just probably put a bit of a pitchfork on there. No, it doesn't work for us, but probably can put better still. We might put a bit of a channel. Let's connect those two loads there, and we've had a bit of a response to there. I'll add something to the intervening high, probably that one there. You can see as it gets up to that area, it gets into the overbought and knocks it back to the bottom. When we get down below the uptrend and we're oversold and we've had a response there, I might just mark off some high volume bars. The highest volume bar is that one there. We broke below the low of that, that's a bit of a worry. So at high volume, come down. So some buying in there, but then the next bar closes lower, so there's still plenty of supply. It goes up, but there's no demand and it's an upthrust. Collapses, and that looks like a bit of a gotcha bar. So that was the last bullish bar there. Broke below there. And now we're having trouble, even though we got over this bar here, we're having trouble with the bottom of this bar here. So there's some buying happening in there. There's still plenty of supply in this bar here. Plenty of supply in this bar here closing low, but still buying must have come in because the next bar closes high and takes out that high. So 2-bar reversal there. The next bar, and it's got a couple of days to go, but it's on reducing volume. So they'll probably retest within the body of this bar here if they're bullish. I'll have a look at the daily chart. You can see that's where it's run into trouble. So we've had a high volume break below this bar here, which is your high volume bar. This bar, the last bar, is actually a bit of a test, and that's testing. Go back there. But what we do have here is we have started a bit of a downtrend channel. If I connect, what should I connect? Connect those two, and that there, that sort of works for us, doesn't it? So its medium-term trend is down still. Put a center line there, and that collects that pivot there. So that's look, collects the gaps. So that's a good downtrend channel. Well, it's a downtrend channel. Whether it's good or not depends on what side of the trade you're on, I suppose. That's a test. If the next bar can close high on a slightly more volume, we don't want excessive, but slightly more volume, and close high on a good spread, then you can probably anticipate a move up to the top of the channel. But you're really close to that top of the channel now. If the next bar closes low, however, then that would make that a fail test, and that would be a sign of weakness, and that will come back then to test, I believe, further into the body of this bar here, and possibly even, I just mark off the close of that bar. So it's moved past, and generally when it's moved past, it comes back and retests at that center line. It didn't quite there, but a nice low volume test on the center line where this was would be good, but we're in a downtrend channel here, so we'd pay more attention on the daily chart. We'd pay more attention to our weak bars. That's a weak bar. That is a test, so that's testing. It's counted, so you could say, well, it's counted some resistance here, and it's tested. So we'll want to see what it does in response. If we see like an up thrust now after this, then that would confirm the weakness, and it's going to go down. But if it closes higher, like one of these bars on slightly more volume and up, that would be a confirmed test. But then you're pretty close to this top of the channel then. So, but you might get a spurt up to the top of that channel, and then we'd have to see. This is MTE. I've just charted it recently, so I've got lines on it. But basically, I'm looking at a high volume bar down here where it's come off, and they've done some accumulation, and it's gapped away from there, come back and retested. They've moved it very quickly up. You can see how it works. You got your really high volume up bar over 2 bars, but the second bar closes not much further from the other one, so it's full of selling in there. Comes down and tests, and they bring it back up to complete distribution. They're holding it up there to complete distribution. When you see one of those, then it doesn't go away. I mean, it stays there. So a quick recovery, and usually it takes time to recover from one of these up thrusts and really high excessive volume. And they've held it up, but it's to complete distribution. You see a high volume up, they test it, but then we get the up thrust. Down she goes, high volume, then we get it's widespread but on no demand. And we get a test, looks like a nice test, but it collapsed, the test fails. So that's, as you know, then it's weak, and it's come right off. And you come down to the bottom, and we've had this bit of a shakeout here on high volume, not as high as here, but possibly the start of some accumulation. Next bar finishes down though, but on high volume. Next bar closes up, and it pushes through, tests. You see the volume drying up as this, you get this bit of ascending triangle happening. Test, and then you have a successful test, and then you get your breakout on high volume. It's not excessive like this, but still quite high. But then you get the up thrust straight after that. So what you've got here is you've got a whole heap of trapped holders here. I've marked the high and low of this high volume bar here, and you've got trapped holders all in here that will just want to exit, who got caught on the wrong side of the trade. Next bar then tests, then they gap up. I'll just get rid of this blue so we can see the bar. The test is successful because it gaps up, but that bar is quite weak, and that's because it's in this area. But then the next bar comes off, but again on lighter volume again, so lows, not a lot of selling pressure. So we've had effort to break out. Then we've got let's see, the volume's not excessive. You need that to break out of this zone, but the volume on that bar there is as high as your bar here, as your down bar. Your up bar is as high as your down bars here. So there's a lot of supply in that bar there. So we want to see it. I was seeing tests, then it tries to go up on high volume, comes back on low volume, very low volume. So if we can get a bullish looking bar, we probably really need to get out of this downtrend. It's butting its head against this bit of a downtrend here, and we just really need to get away from that, I think. So if you can make it, if you can get away from that, then I think it's okay. I think it might be all right, because it's starting a bit of an uptrend, but it's quite possible that they may want to accumulate still within this range here. So we don't really know. It just looks like effort there has been exerted to get above this level, and I think they'll probably bring it back at least to the. I think they'll bring it back to the bottom of this bar, possibly. But that's definitely low supply, so that could actually have a run tomorrow. But whether it can break out or not, we don't see. But it could have a run tomorrow if it were to close on a bit more volume. If we get a little bit more volume than what we've got there, and it closes high on a decent sort of a spread, then that could have a squirt up to the, you got 76 cents there, and you've got your supply zone there between 80 and 79 and 86 cents. But I mean, you've started a downtrend here, so we've got a shorter term uptrend. We've got some weak bars at the top here, We've got some low supply bars coming in, testing with the body of this bar. So while it holds the low of this bar, I tend to be quite, I think it was looking okay, but there's possibility is that they'll test the bottom of this bar for supply before taking it higher, perhaps. But so that may have a run again tomorrow. But whether we end up if we end up with another up thrust, then you're probably going to know it's or no demand. Then you're going to know it's going to come off and test probably within the bottom of this bar at least, and we might even do that tomorrow. We don't know. Yeah, so good confirmation for the low supply would be a bullish bar, widespread bar, or not narrow spread, on slightly more non-excessive volume, and that might tell us it's ready to go for a run. And if we put in a repeating range, say from the low here to the high there, if it were to go for a run, then that would take you up to the top around the distribution zone. Let's just see if I can find that somewhere else as well. So that's, that has repeated before. There's probably even a bit conservative slightly as well. You do have another smaller range though. Get rid of these other arrows, which is that one there. It's completed a smaller repeating range, so you got that repeating range there. Got from this low up to where it gave its little bare full flag. There's a range there, so you could argue, well, it's completed a range and it's due to come back. But you do have, if we were to get a nice widespread bar and a bit more volume, then we could possibly see it move up to the 80 cent side quite quickly. But really, you're right near this resistance line here, so it's really up to you how you play it. But you've got a couple of weak bars right above you. You get one more in there, and I'll just give it away, I think. But if you saw some really nice narrow spread low volume bars on the bottom of this bar here, and that would be good. It might be that it just wants to move sideways and accumulate within the range of that bar for a bit. We'll just have to wait and see. So that's MTE. This is DCG. Had a bit of a run up. Let's retrace back. We'll just have a look. Let's have a look at the weekly chart on that. And if we might put a fib on there, let's come back to about 61.8 fib. But it hasn't been able to really break convincingly above the 50 fib. So it's broken below the 50 fib, and it's finding resistance at the 50 fib just under there. So that's actually not that great. What have we got here? We've got really high volume down. As far as up, really high volume, but it's an up bar. We don't like really high volume on up bars. Next bar test, then the test fails, so that confirms its weakness in this bar. They've come down to the bottom, selling pressure comes off, we get an increase in volume, and up she goes. That's okay, I suppose. It's trying to support there at the 61 fib. But it's not really telling us. We really want to see a proper higher low. I would suggest we want to see a higher low above at least the $2.20 around the close of that bar, which would be above the 50 fib. So if we can get some light volume testing like one of these, followed by the next bar up on top of there to confirm the higher low, and that would be good. If we look at the daily, see it's getting, see this is the worry here, this really high volume here, ultra high volume and very narrow spread, so that's different, that's professional selling there, no two ways about it. And that's what knocked it right back, and you had to actually have got a short setup there because you got some no demand then appearing around that area, some narrow spread up bars. We've got high volume coming up here, it's broken out that high but hitting this area now, so this is a key resistance area. And we need to break above that area to get, because we've got this now sitting on top of us, plenty of supply in there, and if they're bullish we want to see them take that out and form a higher low on top there. And we let's just see where we are in the channel. If I just connect a couple of low highs there, moving low. At least we've moved out of this channel here, moved a bit sideways, so we can mark the low. And I'd mark this low. See how they get over that area. So that might be that they've started accumulating here, but that's really weak. So that's a worry. So that adds to the background weakness, but we've moved sideways out of there. Next bar high volume up, but next bar closes down from high volume. So that's weak as well. Even though it's closed off the high. Volume's not that high to speak of either, it's 820,000. It's not that high, but it's still your high volume up bar is being rejected. See that high volume up bar and it knocks it back. No supply right down here in this area. Tries to go up and no demand. And get some really narrow spread down bars and boom, up she goes. Yeah, no, we want to get away. This is the area to beat, the 230 up above there and retest on light volume, and then we get some form of uptrend channel happening. We could probably have a speculative look also at a pitchfork. So you've hit the median line of the pitchfork, so you got your support line at the bottom of line of the pitchfork. We've got support there at this high volume bar here. We want to see if we can get some low volume testing on there. Wouldn't be bad as well. But really, I'd want to get it. Really for a long-term entry, I'd want to get above here. If we've got some light volume testing down here on this line here, then it might be good for a short-term run, or some light volume testing on the bottom time. Then it might be good for a short-term trade up to that area again. But for your longer term stuff, you really want to be above that and come back and retest. So that's DCG.